back to another behind the scenes cake life vlog. We have another wedding cake this week and I have just been rolling from work day to day. I think by the time I finish and deliver this wedding cake, I will have been working solidly for 12 days. And this is because of a Friday birthday, a Monday wedding, and now a Saturday wedding. So by the time I have delivered this one, it will have been 12 full days of work. So I'm a little bit tired, but I am so looking forward to this delivery because we are heading back down to where the Black Country Museum is. And we have like an annual pass, like when you pay to get in for the first time, they turn it into an annual pass. And we went quite a few months ago now, so we're able to get in again and turn it into a mini day out. I love when we can turn a cake delivery into a mini day out. So I'm going to complete this cake. On the delivery, it's 5 minutes away from the museum. So Saturday after the delivery and Sunday are going to be my first days off, which I'm very excited about. So this cake is a 3-tier wedding cake, and I will chat to you about the design as we get into making it. Right, so it is now Thursday and I'm going to chat to you about this cake. As you can tell, I've just sprayed it all in Galaxy, with the middle tier being more heavy blue and then moving up to purple on the top tier and at the bottom tier. Kate and James planned this theme, and when I asked for inspiration images, usually it's just say like it's Galaxy, so it'll be a picture of a galaxy, it'll be a colour scheme, things like that. They created such an insane set of mood boards. Like, she'd put it all together in a collage of florals, colours, galaxy, table centerpieces. It blew me away. Her collages were absolutely stunning, and I was just so excited to put the cake together, so I just literally took all the ideas from a board and created this design. And my battery is about to die. Of course it is. I'm gonna have to put you on charge and talk to you about it later.
A few moments later.
Right, let's try this again. So, the mood board is a mishmash of galaxy things, hot pink, purples, blues, all the galaxy, gorgeous, vibrant colours, with gold geometric centerpieces. Now, if I show you what I have behind me, it is a gold geometric centerpiece. In fact, this is actually a terrarium. It's a proper terrarium that I purchased from eBay. Now, when you look at this, can you remember when the shops were filled with gold geometric shapes, whether they were candle holders, ornaments? This one has glass in, it's open at the top here, but it's glass all the way around. And I can remember the shops having these without glass in, and then it'd be like a little candle holder or whatever. And I even had a similar one in my living room up until recently, when I decided to swap out a little bit of the decor, except it wasn't gold, it was more like a pointy brass version, and that was also a candle holder. Now, I designed this cake a few different ways. the one that they chosen was this on the top. I also included a design where this was the separator, so it was like halfway up the cake and then a cake would sit on top of this and then the cake below it. But they went with the option with one of these sitting on the top for safety, because they said they were clumsy and didn't want to break it, which is completely fine. However, when I come to buy the gold shape, thinking I would be able to get it from anywhere, could I bloody find them? Absolutely not. I went to the range, I went to Dunelm, I went to IKEA. I searched the internet. Now, there were a few on the internet. Some of them were way too big, really large. One of them, the ones that would fit, were coming from China, wouldn't have gotten here on time, and they were a little bit of odd shaped. So I settled on this one from eBay. However, it is an actual terrarium, so they'll be able to use this. This will be such a lovely keepsake afterwards, because they'll be able to put some succulents or flowers in it or something like that, and will be a memento of their day. But the cake is a small 3-tier, which means it's a 4-inch, a 6-inch and an 8-inch. And you can guess what I'm going to say, can't you? The base is bigger than 4-inch. So I'm gonna have to take these like little legs off, because they do stick up a little bit like that, and I don't want it to stick up off the cake, because these will actually overhang the cake, top of the cake a little bit. So I'm gonna remove those, and also I gave them the option to add fairy lights, which they wanted, because who doesn't want fairy lights on their wedding cake? So I need to insert fairy lights inside of here and hide the battery box. But on the drawing as well, there was like a cluster of flowers, which I thought if I could get the wire one, I would just be able to wire them around the frame. But now that it's glass, I'm going to have to kind of hot glue the flowers to the glass. So yeah, not quite as easy and straightforward as I thought it would be, but we got there in the end. I just hope this doesn't look too ridiculous on the top, because I have no backup. I have no other option, because they were so hard to find. But I do have some of my florals here sitting on the side, because it's like red, hot pink and burgundy. So I'm hoping some of these florals will look really nice and add pops of colour in. And they're quite nicely sized as well, if I can group a few on the top here with the fairy lights in. So I think that's what we're going to get on with next. So I bought these lights here. The reason I chose this is because it's got a very small battery box. You don't want the ones like that hold big AA. AA, that's a bloody car company. A double A batteries, because the battery pack would just be too big. So I bought this one, and then also got them as wire lights as well, so they're not too bulky. You know, if you have the wire and then a massive bulb hanging off it, the bulbs are actually embedded across the wire. So the smaller you're working with, the better. The smaller the battery pack and the wire is better. So I haven't tested these yet. Would have probably been a good idea, but I don't want to waste the battery, so we'll just pull this tab out and see if they work. There's a little button here on the side, so if we give that a press. Oh, you're joking. Oh, you are joking. Oh my god, I got these online, and there's not going to be any time to replace these. This is the first set of lights I've not had work. Come on. Oh my god, this doesn't work. Oh, hang on. We had a little flash there. How did I do that? There's a loose connection somewhere. There must be. Right. I found the problem. I'm having to squeeze this box together to get it to work. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. Look how old this battery is. Not good. I purchased this from eBay at the same time as the structure. Right, let's put these back in a different way. Oh my god, this cannot be happening right now. Right. Is there an option where they don't flash? Oh my god. Oh, there, right, an option where they don't flash. So they work, but they're incredibly temperamental. So I'm going to have to put this somewhere where I'm able to access the batteries to make sure that, look, see, they've gone off. To make sure that the batteries are aligned properly so that they stay on. This is ridiculous. Right. Oh, so much stress. Right, I've got my hot glue gun plugged in, and I've made a design decision. So obviously this has got a square base, so you can either put it square on like that. Let me bring this round. So that this would be the front of the cake. When I do this, these sides are wider, so they stick out wider, which makes it look even bigger on top of an already small cake. Or I can rotate it like that and make this the front, in which case the sides have come in a little bit, but it doesn't look quite as geometric as it could. I don't know if this is making any sense, but when I tilted it on the cake and I tilted it slightly this way, so it wasn't actually even on the top of the cake, like we couldn't see a diamond on the bottom or a square, and we just kind of have it at this sort of angle. Although now I'm looking at it in the camera, that doesn't look right, does it? I was going to offset it a little bit because it looked better, but now I'm looking at it through this viewfinder. This bit looks completely flat. Let me put it back on the cake. No, I've put it back on the cake, and I do prefer it slightly off angle. You get to see more of the geometric shape, and it just looks a little bit better. So the front of the cake, instead of it being this point or in the middle, the front is kind of going to go there. I know it sounds ridiculous, but just trust me. So I'm just waiting for my hot glue gun to heat up, because I'm going to place this battery pack in this top left corner on the inside here. I'm going to glue that there, so I can then place my lights on the inside, and then from the outer side, when the flowers are stuck on the outside, it should be able to hide that battery pack. So that's what we're doing next. And what I'm going to do is, instead of just putting red hot glue onto this plastic and onto glass, what you want to do is squeeze some of it out first, and it starts cooling very, very quickly. So it'll cool as it comes out, and then I'm going to apply it when it's slightly cooled. So it's not absolutely red hot. I'm going to melt things. Let's attempt this. It's going up in this top corner. God. I hope this works. I'm just going to hold that there until that's cooled down against this glass, and hopefully it should stay there. Let's try the lights. Oh, they work! Oh, very magical, very nice. Let's not waste those knackered batteries. So here is the doodle, so you can see like how big the topper is supposed to be, and it's bigger. It's a lot bigger, but I mimicked like the gold geometric shapes coming out of the flower clusters. You can see little Snorlax hiding there as well. So this was the initial idea, so the galaxy, the gold geometric, popping out of the flowers, a little hidden Snorlax, but then they wanted to add some spaceships in. So I do have a list of spaceships, just small ones, to pop onto the galaxy background as well. So I'm going to take a look at the list, see how big they are and what colours the spaceships are, to see where they're going to look best. But I think the first job is to actually put these gold geometric shapes on in the background, because I know where they're going to go. There's going to be one there, there and there. I'll pop those on, and then making sure they're big enough so that when we put the flower clusters on, you can still see them coming out. I also just wanted to pop on and give you something completely unrelated to cake. Just before I start you off on another montage with some music behind it. As you will have seen, if you have watched a few vlogs ago, you saw that we bought a new car, we had it for 3 weeks, it got written off, we were given a set amount of money, which was actually £100 less than what we paid for the car. We also lost out on money because we'd filled it with a full tank of petrol, and Adam bought some very specific special car mats that he forgot to take out. So the car went off to scrap. So we lost out on quite a bit. Anyway, we were given a sum of money to then start car hunting again. We think we found another one, and it will hopefully be ready Saturday, which is the day we deliver this cake. So we can't go and actually collect it on Saturday because we'll be down near Birmingham, down where the Black Country Museum is. However, this new car is red, and funnily enough was the exact same car that we were supposed to go and view before we bought the blue one that got written off. So the red one was on there, there was a blue one on there, and the red one was our pick. It was our first choice. We rang up, asked if we could come and see it, and they said, I'm real sorry, but we've actually sold it. So kind of ruled the red one out. We went to see the blue one, bought it, got written off. Then for some reason the red one ended up going back onto Auto Trader. So the person who had bought the red one brought it back. The garage said she brought it back because of the diesel filter. We've had that problem before with our Skoda, because our Skoda is a diesel, so we understood what the problem was, and they said they were willing to fix it. So this random weird turn of events, we are now getting the car that we were supposed to get the first time, and I had already named this car in my head. Because of the colour, something just popped into my head and I called it Rupert. A lot of our past cars have had names. So the car, let me get comfy because this is going to be long. I'm going to use my other arm. So we used to have a white Skoda, and it had a little green plant sticker on the side because it was like an eco one that didn't have any road tax or anything on it. And because it was white and had a little green plant on it, we called it Eve, like Wally and Eve, whose sole purpose was to find a plant. We ended up selling that one in order to get a car that would tow a caravan. If you have been around that long, you'll know how that went. If you want to go and look back at that whole debacle, you can do. You're looking around about 2020. As the pandemic hit, we bought a caravan and then we went into lockdown. So the car we bought in order to tow the caravan had a tow bar on it, much bigger engine, much bigger, heavier car, and it was also a Skoda. It was grey, and the numbers on the number plate added up to, I can't remember. But it was important because it was the same number as Peter Capaldi was a doctor. So I have no idea, you'll have to Google it. All these Doctor Who fans will know, but I'm just going to use this as an example. Say David Tennant was like the 9th Doctor, and Matt Smith was the 10th Doctor, and Peter Capaldi, say, was the 11th Doctor. Whatever the numbers were on the number plate, it added up to the number of Doctor that Peter Capaldi played. We were very into Doctor Who at the time, and our caravan was called the TARDIS, and we had a little TARDIS key ring that went on the keys. So the Skoda was called Capaldi, after Peter Capaldi, and Abby has only just realised this. She thought we'd called the car after Lewis Capaldi. And I have no idea why we would call the car after Lewis Capaldi, but all this time she thought that's who we'd called the car after. Anyway, I named this red car Rupert. It just popped into my brain, Rupert the bear, because he wears a red jumper and he has a little yellow scarf, and it just popped into my head. Anyway, we ended up not getting that car, and we got the blue one. Now this is where it gets really weird because I hadn't named it. None of us had named the car. Not because we couldn't think of anything, but because we just didn't name it. And the weirdest thing is, obviously it got written off, and I was like, maybe we weren't supposed to ever have this car because something in me just didn't bother naming it. It was like, don't bother naming it because you're not going to have it that long. That's how my brain has just written this whole thing. So we just never, there was no name that instantly came to us. We never even discussed the car's name. We owned it for 3 weeks without a name. All of our other cars had names and we just didn't give it one, and we no longer own it. So I just think maybe it was always supposed to be. So yeah, randomly we have now got this red car that we're hoping will be fixed and ready to go at the weekend. So what Adam doesn't know, because I've just gone to pick this up from the in-post locker, I purchased it from Vinted. How cute is it? So this is Rupert. If you're watching from the US, you probably have no idea who Rupert is. Maybe he's only a UK thing, a bit like Paddington Bear. Rupert Bear was a TV series. He's got books, but it's this little bear that goes on adventures, and he has a little red jumper and tartan scarf and pants. He was a little McDonald's toy. He's got little beanies in his bum, and he's absolutely adorable. So I got a little Rupert to place in the car, and I also have arriving a Rupert keyring for the car keys and a Rupert pin for our pin board, because when we bought the Skoda, I bought a Skoda pin. Anything that happens in life, whether we go on holiday, whether we do something new, anything like that, we get a pin to commemorate it, and it goes in chronological order on our pin board at home. So we have a Skoda pin from when we bought the Skoda, but we never bought a pin for the blue car. So I've made sure to buy a Rupert pin to remind us of the day that we bought Rupert. So yeah, he has no idea I've got this yet, and I've got all the other little bits coming. I just thought I'd randomly tell you that before we start another montage. Friday, and I thought I was done because I've placed on the little Snorlax and my little ships hidden here and there, the little DeLorean there at the bottom, and I stood back and I took a couple of photos and thought, right, I'm done. But then I looked at my photo and realised I hadn't put any berries on it. I had drawn like little blueberries that emerge from the floral, so I have just quickly made those, which means my hands are now stained blue. I was very lucky, my hands were like flesh coloured still, up until I made the berries, and then I blue for the weekend. So I've just got those hanging up and drying. But I just wanted to show you a little arrival that came today. It is the Rupert pin to go with the cutest little Rupert bear that I've got. So the last thing I'm waiting for now is the key ring to go on his keys. How cute is that? Like I mentioned, I've got a pin board at home which has like the chronological order of places we visited or things that we've done, renovations, bought a car, things like that. This is the one I have at work. So I have a board at work, and this is purely just for pins that I like or pins that you guys have sent to me through the post. And there's some of my favourite films on here. So we've got Dark Crystal, we've got Littlefoot from Land Before Time, we've got the Worm and Jareth from The Labyrinth. We've got Ray here from Princess and the Frog. Look, Ludo's here as well. So we've got lots of pins, and these are just for, like I said, either movies I like or ones that you've sent me. But I do sell pins like this in my online shop. So if you want to start your own little pin board like this, a few of these guys are actually in my online shop if you want to grab them. I'm going to transport the topper separate because safer. And I have a little ball of blue sugar paste, which is left over from these berries, that I am going to use to stick the topper onto the top tier. So the top tier has got 4 supports in, a little bit of water on there, little blobs of sugar paste, topper on, squash down, and it will set over time as long as it is damp. So I'm all done now. I'm going to go and do the food shop and we will deliver it tomorrow, which will most likely for you just be silent footage, and I'll probably be talking over it to tell you how it went. So we drove it down to the Village Hotel Dudley. Now the Village Hotel is kind of like a chain. They do have a few of them. We have been to the one in Bury before, all quite a similar layout. And we do have another one to deliver here as well later on this year, I'm pretty sure. But the cake table was ready to go, and you always see me pull the box to the very edge of the table. That just allows me to get that flap out of my way. I can fully fold it down towards the floor, which allows me to get the cake out a lot easier. However, it does feel scary and look scary when I'm pulling the cake so close to the edge of the table. I set it up, make sure it's central, make sure it's facing the right way. Adam will then get rid of the box, place it somewhere safe, because it does have the instructions on the other side, like your allergens and what bits to remove. In this case, it's remove all the florals and all of their supports. You'll see we had a visitor on our cake delivery. As like I said, I do like to turn them into days out, so we brought Lix along, who is channeling Lydia Deetz vibes in the Beetlejuice t-shirt and the camera around the neck. But just to avoid any confusion going forward, Lix is their chosen and preferred name. You obviously previously knew them if you were an old vlog watcher as Abby. This is not something new, just new to the public or new to the vlog watchers. But Lix is short for Felix, but they prefer to use just the ending as Lix because it's a little bit more androgynous. And I let them loose with my vlogging camera for the day. So I'm just getting some kind of like semi-steady shots of the venue and some of the table details, which looked amazing. I adored their favours. I didn't actually get any footage of their favours, but their favours were like moon and star enamel pins. You know I love a pin, but it wasn't in focus. But here we are now at the Black Country Museum, and as you can see, Lix is now in charge of the camera. They want to study kind of creative media at college because they're right at the end of their GCSEs now. Leaving school, you can pretty much then reinvent yourself and be who you want to be without people knowing you from like year 7 upwards. So here they are discovering some old toilet paper.
What? That's literally just like tracing. Yeah, that's like what you used to put on the bottom of your cake tins.
And just letting them loose with the camera, just filming little bits here and there. I was mostly just taking photos on my phone for Instagram, which is kind of my preferred thing to do now. I've always been a massive fan of photography, and for a little stint, which not many people know, I did do wedding photography for a little while. But the camera got to go on the roundabout.
Jesus. Oh my god. My head. I wonder what frame rate your camera has.
And then I have the large job of going through all the really random clips that we've collected and tried to chop them down into something that made sense. But look who we saw in one of the shops. That is just another sign. I forgot to mention when I was chatting about the car and the name Rupert, we actually saw 2 more Rupert books when we went to the Cotswolds. So we went to the Cotswolds in our courtesy car, so the crash had already happened at this stage, and whilst we were exploring some of the antique shops around the Cotswolds, we saw 2 Rupert annuals, and I'm just thinking this is definitely a sign. And then we saw a 3rd one here at the Black Country Museum, so all just seemed to fit. But I'm going to end the vlog here because it is super long. Thank you very much for watching. I highly recommend a visit to the Black Country Museum and also the Beamish Museum, which are both outdoor living museums. Pretty sure they're owned by the same people, but leave me a comment down below. I always try to get back to them, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.